Ex-David, a single father, woke up early as he did every day. The alarm buzzed across the small apartment and he rubbed his eyes, feeling the weight of another long day. Raising an 8-year-old daughter alone was never easy, and some days it felt heavier than others. But he pushed himself up knowing that Lily needed him, even if she didn't say it out loud. He showered quickly, dressed, and headed to the kitchen where Lily was still curled up under a blanket on the sofa, hugging her stuffed rabbit. She looked small and fragile, and the sight tugged at his heart. David poured cereal into a bowl, the sound of milk splashing over it filling the quiet apartment. He tried to start a conversation with Lily, asking if she was ready for school, but she didn't respond. He gently nudged her, and she mumbled a soft, almost inaudible yes. David didn't push further. He knew that sometimes she needed space, and rushing her always made things worse. Instead, he got ready himself, checking the time on the wall clock and realizing he had just enough minutes to get her to school on time if they left immediately. Walking into her room, he noticed the drawings scattered on the floor. Most of them were bright, happy pictures, but a few had sad faces, some lonely figures standing apart from others. He picked one up, showing it to her. "Did you draw this today?" he asked. Lily nodded without looking at him. "It's nice," he said softly, trying to encourage her, but she only shrugged and went back to hugging her rabbit. He felt a pang in his chest. He had always tried to be there for her, but sometimes it felt like no matter what he did, she was still carrying a quiet sadness he couldn't reach. The morning went by in a rush. They got ready, brushed their teeth, and grabbed their jackets. David held the umbrella as they walked to the car, the rain falling steadily around them. Lily walked beside him, quiet, staring down at the wet sidewalk. He wanted to ask her again what was wrong, but the words caught in his throat. He remembered the last time he had pressed her. She had just shut down and gone to her room. He didn't want that again. Driving to school, David stole glances at Lily. Her small hands gripped her backpack tightly, her knuckles white. Her eyes were fixed on the raindrops sliding down the window. He felt a mix of guilt and worry. How could he make her feel safe and heard when he was always so busy with work and life's responsibilities? He promised himself silently that today he would try harder. They arrived at the school, and Lily clutched the strap of her backpack as they walked toward the entrance. Children ran past them laughing and shouting, but Lily stayed close to her dad. At the gate, she stopped and looked up at him, her small face serious. "Daddy," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. David leaned down, meeting her eyes. "Yes, sweetie?" he asked. She took a deep breath and her words came out almost in a rush. "I'm already hurt." David froze. The words hit him harder than he expected. He had always known she was sensitive, but hearing her admit it so plainly made him feel both helpless and determined. "Hurt in what way, Lily?" he asked gently, kneeling beside her. She shook her head and looked away, her small frame trembling slightly. He wanted to hug her, to tell her it would be okay, but he also wanted to give her the space to share on her own terms. After a moment, she whispered about the other kids at school, how some of them laughed at her when she tried to join in their games, how she sometimes felt invisible in class, and how she missed having her mom there to make everything better. David listened carefully, his heart aching with each word. He realized that all the small moments he thought were insignificant, the rushed mornings, the distracted evenings, the silent car rides had added up to a sense of loneliness for Lily. He reached out, taking her hand in his. "I'm so sorry you feel that way," he said. "I want to help and I promise to listen more. You don't have to go through this alone." Lily looked at him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. She nodded slightly, and for the first time that morning, a small hint of relief crossed her face. David felt a flicker of hope. This was the start, he thought. The start of really being there for her. After dropping her off, David drove to work, but his mind wasn't on his emails or meetings. It was on Lily, on the weight of her words, and on the realization that he needed to make changes. He spent the day planning how he could be more present, more attentive, and more emotionally available for his daughter. He made notes about carving out time every evening to talk, to play, and to share small moments together. He reminded himself that even though life was busy, the moments that mattered most were the ones spent together. That evening, when he returned home, he found Lily sitting on the couch with her rabbit, her eyes watching the rain outside the window. He sat beside her quietly, not rushing, not asking too many questions. Just sitting there, letting her know he was present. After a while, she leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder. "I'm scared sometimes," she whispered, "but I like it when you're here." David hugged her gently, feeling the tension in her small body ease slightly. He didn't need any more words. This simple moment of closeness told him more than anything she could say. Over the next few days, David paid closer attention to Lily's moods and small behaviors. He noticed how she hesitated before entering the playground, how she lingered at the edges of groups, and how she seemed to shrink when other children laughed or teased. Each observation made him more determined to be the father she needed. He started setting aside time each evening just for her. They read together, drew together, and sometimes simply sat quietly talking about nothing and everything. Each moment was a small step toward building the trust and connection that Lily had been craving. One afternoon, after a particularly tough day at school for Lily, she finally opened up more. She spoke about her fears, her sadness, and the little things that made her feel invisible. David listened without interrupting, nodding and reassuring her that her feelings mattered. He realized that the simple act of listening, really listening, was more powerful than any advice or discipline he could offer. Lily began to smile more, laugh more, and slowly, the shadow of hurt began to lift. David understood that parenting a sensitive child like Lily would never be easy, but he also knew that being present, patient, and emotionally available could make all the difference. The words she had whispered to him, "I'm already hurt," would stay with him forever, reminding him of the responsibility he carried and the love that bound them together. In those quiet, unremarkable mornings and evenings, amidst the chaos and routines of life, the foundation of healing and trust was being built. One small, meaningful moment at a time. David had been thinking about Lily all day. Work felt like a blur as his mind kept wandering back to her words. "I'm already hurt." He kept replaying the small details he had noticed, the way she flinched when a classmate laughed too loudly, the way she seemed to shrink in the corner of the room, and the drawings she left scattered on the floor. He realized he had been so focused on the practical parts of parenting, meals, laundry, school runs, that he had overlooked the emotional moments. That evening, he decided he needed to make a change. He would try to really understand her world and the feelings she kept inside. When he got home, he found Lily in her usual spot on the couch, holding her stuffed rabbit tightly. The rain pattered against the windows and the soft gray light filled the room. David sat down beside her, careful not to startle her. He didn't begin with questions or instructions. He just sat quietly, letting her know he was there. After a few minutes, she leaned slightly against him, a small gesture that showed trust. David felt a mix of relief and determination. He knew the path ahead would take patience, but he was ready. Lily spoke softly at first, her words hesitant, like testing the waters. She talked about school, about how some kids teased her and how she felt left out when she tried to join group activities. David listened without interruption, nodding and holding her hand. He asked gentle questions when appropriate, encouraging her to express her feelings without pushing too hard. Each time she spoke, he could see a tiny shift, a small spark of relief and connection that she hadn't shown before. The next day, David noticed subtle changes in her behavior. She was quieter in the morning, still carrying a hint of sadness, but there was a new glimmer of trust in the way she walked beside him to the car. During the drive to school, she spoke more than usual, sharing small thoughts and observations about her day ahead. David smiled quietly, feeling that their bond was slowly strengthening. He understood that these small victories were significant, that each word and gesture mattered in rebuilding trust and confidence. After dropping her off, David's mind raced with ideas on how to support her emotionally. He thought about setting aside specific time each evening for just the two of them, free from distractions. He considered activities that could make her feel seen and valued. Reading together, drawing, going to the park, or simply talking about anything that came to mind. He realized that these moments didn't have to be grand gestures. Even small, consistent attention could have a powerful impact. That evening, he prepared a small surprise. He set up a little art station in the living room with crayons, paper, and colored pencils, knowing Lily loved to draw. When she walked in, her eyes lit up and a small smile appeared. David sat beside her, asking her to show him her favorite drawings. She hesitated at first, but then started explaining each one, telling stories about the characters she created. David listened attentively, asking questions and expressing genuine interest. He realized that giving her his full attention made her feel important and understood, something she had been craving silently. Over the next few days, David kept the momentum going. He made it a habit to check in with Lily after school, asking open-ended questions about her day and listening carefully to her responses. He noticed she began to share more details, expressing her emotions without fear of judgment. Sometimes she spoke about small victories like finishing a drawing she was proud of, or making a new friend. Other times she confided in him about fears or moments of sadness. David responded with empathy, reassurance, and gentle guidance, helping her navigate her feelings without dismissing them. One afternoon, Lily came home looking particularly downcast. David knelt beside her, offering a warm hug. She buried her face in his chest and whispered about a rough day at school, where a group of children had made fun of her for not participating in a game correctly. David held her close, letting her cry without interruption. He reassured her that it was okay to feel hurt, and that her feelings were valid. He reminded her that she was strong, loved, and never alone. For the first time in a long while, Lily allowed herself to fully express her sadness, trusting her father to understand and protect her from judgment. As weeks passed, David continued creating small routines to strengthen their connection. They cooked meals together, laughed over spills and mistakes, and shared stories about their day. Lily began to show signs of growth and confidence. She participated more at school, made new friends, and even helped others who seemed lonely, inspired by the attention and care she received at home. David watched with pride as his daughter blossomed, realizing that emotional support and presence mattered as much, if not more, than material provisions. One evening, after a long day, Lily handed David a note she had written herself. It read, "Thank you for listening. I feel safer with you." David felt a lump in his throat as he read her words. They captured everything he had been working toward: trust, understanding, and love. He hugged her tightly, telling her that he would always be there to listen and care for her. Lily smiled softly, a small but powerful acknowledgement of the bond they were building. David knew that the journey was ongoing. There would be more challenges, more moments of hurt, and times when Lily felt unsure or scared. But he also knew that the foundation they were building together would help her navigate life with resilience and confidence. He had learned that parenting was not just about providing food, shelter, or safety. It was about being emotionally present, truly seeing your child, and offering consistent love and support. Late at night, David reflected on the changes he had seen in Lily. He remembered the mornings when she had sat quietly, feeling alone, and contrasted them with the evenings now, filled with laughter, shared stories, and small moments of connection. He felt gratitude and hope, realizing that the smallest acts of attention and care could transform a child's world. Lily's quiet plea, "I'm already hurt," had become a guiding light, reminding him of the importance of presence, empathy, and unconditional love. As he lay down to sleep, David made a promise to himself and to Lily. He would continue to listen, to be patient, and to nurture the emotional bond they shared. He understood that love was shown not only in words but in everyday actions: the shared meals, the bedtime stories, the gentle guidance, and the unwavering presence. And he knew that with time, patience, and dedication, Lily would grow up feeling seen, valued, and deeply loved. David had made a quiet commitment to himself. He wanted to be present for Lily, not just physically but emotionally every single day. He realized that being a parent wasn't just about meeting basic needs. It was about showing up for the moments that mattered, even the small, quiet ones. That morning, he watched Lily eat breakfast slowly, picking at her food. He decided not to rush her or ask a lot of questions, but to just sit with her. Sometimes, he thought, silence could be a comfort, a way to show that he was there, ready to listen whenever she felt like speaking. After school, David picked Lily up as usual. The rain had cleared, leaving puddles on the sidewalk reflecting the afternoon sunlight. Lily held his hand tightly, skipping over the puddles carefully. He noticed her glancing around, watching other children play. There was a mix of curiosity and caution in her eyes, a sign that while she wanted to join in, past experiences had left her hesitant. David squeezed her hand and said softly, "It's okay to take your time. You don't have to do anything you don't want to." Lily smiled slightly, a small spark of confidence that made David feel hopeful. At home, David had prepared a surprise. He had cleared a space in the living room and set up a small obstacle course with cushions, chairs, and toys. He invited Lily to try it with him. At first, she hesitated, but seeing her father's encouraging smile, she stepped forward. As she moved through the course, laughing and stumbling, David joined her, pretending to trip over cushions and making exaggerated gestures that made her giggle uncontrollably. That simple afternoon became a shared moment of joy, breaking down some of the invisible walls she had built around herself. Over the next few days, David noticed Lily's behavior slowly changing. She began to speak more openly about her day at school, sharing small victories and frustrations alike. One afternoon, she talked about a class project she had completed, explaining it with excitement and pride. David listened, asking questions and praising her effort. He realized that her confidence was growing, not just because of praise, but because she felt seen and valued. He understood that the emotional support he provided was helping her develop a sense of self-worth that had been missing before. One evening, David and Lily sat together after dinner. He suggested they work on a small craft project, something simple that required concentration and creativity. As they cut, glued, and painted, they talked about their day, their thoughts, and even their fears. Lily opened up about moments when she felt left out or invisible, recounting incidents at school with a mix of sadness and frustration. David listened patiently, offering comfort and reassurance. He told her it was okay to feel hurt, that everyone experiences difficult moments, but that she was never alone and that her feelings were valid. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day. David learned to read Lily's subtle cues, her hesitant smile, the way she held her backpack, the quiet sighs she sometimes let slip. He responded with patience and empathy, letting her know that he was there for her without judgment. Lily, in turn, began to trust him more, confiding in him and seeking his guidance. She started to participate more in activities at school, encouraged by the support and encouragement she received at home. Even small achievements like answering a question in class or joining a group game were celebrated together, reinforcing her confidence. One rainy afternoon, after a particularly long day at school, Lily came home feeling discouraged. She had been laughed at during recess for trying to participate in a game. David noticed her shoulders slumped, her eyes downcast. He knelt beside her and held her hand. She leaned against him, letting out a small sob. He hugged her gently, whispering that it was okay to feel hurt and that her feelings mattered. They spent the afternoon talking, sharing stories and laughing at silly moments, gradually lifting her spirits. David understood that these moments of emotional support were just as important as anything else he could provide. As the weeks went by, David continued to create routines that fostered connection. Bedtime became a special time for sharing stories, reading books, and talking about the day. They would discuss anything and everything, from school experiences to dreams for the future. David realized that these moments of attention and engagement were crucial for Lily's emotional development. She started to express herself more freely, showing her thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment. Her laughter became more frequent, and her smiles felt genuine, a reflection of the growing trust and bond between them. David also began to notice the changes in Lily's social interactions. She was more willing to engage with classmates, join group activities, and even help friends who seemed lonely. Her confidence grew not because of pressure or expectation, but because she felt safe, supported, and valued at home. David felt a deep sense of pride and fulfillment, knowing that his presence and attention were making a tangible difference in her life. He realized that the small, consistent efforts he made each day were building a foundation of resilience, trust, and love. One evening, as they sat together looking out the window at the setting sun, Lily turned to David and said softly, "I'm not as scared anymore." David smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. He knew the journey was far from over, that there would still be moments of doubt, fear, and hurt, but hearing her acknowledge the progress they had made filled him with hope. He understood that emotional healing and growth were gradual, and that his role was to be a constant presence offering love, support, and understanding. David reflected on how far they had come. He remembered the mornings when Lily had sat quietly, holding her rabbit, staring out the window, feeling alone and hurt. He contrasted those moments with the evenings now, filled with laughter, shared stories, and genuine connection. He felt gratitude for the opportunity to be the parent she needed and hope for the future. Each day, each small gesture, each moment of attention contributed to a growing bond that was reshaping both their lives. He also realized the importance of balance. While work and responsibilities were necessary, they could never take precedence over being present for Lily. He began adjusting his schedule, making room for the moments that mattered most. Whether it was helping with homework, playing a game, or simply sitting together in silence, he committed to showing up fully. David understood that true parenting was not measured by tasks completed, but by the emotional presence, understanding, and love that he provided consistently. As night fell, David tucked Lily into bed, reading a story as she listened quietly. Her small hand reached for his, a simple yet profound gesture of trust and connection. He kissed her forehead, whispered goodnight, and watched as she drifted to sleep with a peaceful expression. In that moment, he felt a sense of fulfillment and purpose, knowing that the bond they were building would carry them through the challenges ahead. He understood that the journey of emotional growth and healing was ongoing, but together, they were creating a foundation of trust, love, and resilience that would shape Lily's world in profound ways. David lay awake that night, reflecting on the lessons he had learned. He realized that listening, empathy, and consistent attention were more powerful than any material provision. The small intentional moments of connection were transforming Lily's life, helping her feel seen, valued, and loved. He knew there would be more challenges, but he also knew that together, they could face anything. The simple, heartfelt words she had shared, "I'm already hurt," had become a guiding force, reminding him of the importance of presence, patience, and unconditional love in shaping a child's emotional well-being. David had noticed how much Lily was changing. She seemed a little braver each day, speaking up more in class, smiling at small victories, and even showing kindness to others. David felt proud but knew the journey was far from over. He understood that real emotional growth didn't happen overnight. It came slowly, day by day, with moments of care, patience, and connection. That morning he sat with Lily at the breakfast table, sharing a quiet moment before the day began. She was drawing on a piece of paper, small doodles of trees and animals filling the page. David looked at her work and asked her to tell him the story behind it. She hesitated, then began explaining with enthusiasm. He listened intently, asking questions that made her think and share more details. Each time she spoke, David realized how much these small conversations were helping her feel heard and valued. At school, Lily was starting to engage more, though she still had moments of doubt. David encouraged her to take small steps and reminded her that it was okay to feel nervous. When he picked her up that afternoon, she was smiling. She told him about a group project where she had spoken up and contributed ideas. David praised her effort, not just for what she had done, but for the courage it took. Lily's eyes lit up and he saw the pride she felt in herself. It was a reminder that emotional support and encouragement often meant more than any reward or recognition. That evening, David decided to create a new routine. He wanted to spend a little extra time each night with Lily, doing something they could enjoy together. They chose to bake cookies, a simple activity but one that allowed them to work side by side and talk freely. As they measured ingredients and stirred the dough, they laughed at small mistakes and enjoyed the process. Lily began to share more of her thoughts, not just about school but about her dreams, worries, and things that made her happy. David listened without judgment, offering guidance when needed and simply enjoying being present. One night, Lily spoke about a situation at school that had bothered her. Some classmates had teased her about a drawing she had made. David listened carefully, holding her hand, and told her it was okay to feel hurt. He reminded her that her feelings were important and that it was okay to express them. They talked about ways to handle such situations and how to stand up for herself gently but firmly. Lily felt comforted, knowing her father understood and supported her. These conversations became a regular part of their evenings, building trust and confidence in her. David also noticed changes in Lily's social life. She was making small steps to connect with other children, helping friends who seemed lonely and showing kindness to those who were different. David praised her for these acts, explaining how small gestures of care and empathy could make a big difference. Lily began to see herself not just as someone who needed care, but as someone who could care for others too. This realization brought her joy and a sense of purpose, and David was thrilled to see her growing in so many ways. During weekends, David planned small adventures to spend quality time together. They went to the park, explored nature trails, and even had simple picnics. Each activity was an opportunity to bond, to talk about life, and to create happy memories. David noticed that Lily was more open, more playful, and more willing to share her feelings. She seemed to trust him more deeply, knowing that he would listen and care without judgment. These moments strengthened their connection, making both of them feel closer and more secure in their relationship. One evening, after a long day at school, Lily handed David a small note. It said, "Thank you for always being here for me. I feel safer with you." David felt a deep emotion well up inside him. The words were simple but powerful, reflecting the trust, love, and bond they had built over weeks of patience and care. He hugged her tightly, feeling proud of the progress they had made together. Lily smiled softly, feeling comforted and reassured that her father would always be there. David realized that emotional support was ongoing work. There would be challenges, moments of hurt, and times when Lily felt unsure or sad. But he also understood that being consistently present, listening, and showing love could make all the difference. He promised himself to continue creating moments of connection, to nurture her confidence, and to guide her gently through the ups and downs of childhood. In the evenings, they often sat together by the window, watching the sunset and talking about their day. Lily would share her thoughts, fears, and small joys while David listened and responded with care and understanding. He realized that these quiet moments were building a foundation of trust and resilience. Lily's confidence and happiness were growing, not because of what he provided materially, but because of the emotional presence and love he consistently offered. David understood the importance of celebrating small victories. Each smile, each shared story, and each moment of courage was a step forward. He encouraged Lily to recognize her own strengths and to take pride in her achievements. Through these moments, Lily learned that it was okay to be herself, to express her feelings, and to trust those who cared for her. The bond they shared was becoming stronger with every passing day. As night fell, David tucked Lily into bed, reading a story and holding her hand. She whispered softly, "I'm feeling better tonight." David smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. He knew that the journey was ongoing, but hearing her words reassured him that the connection and care they shared were making a lasting impact. Lily drifted off to sleep, peaceful and content, while David sat nearby, reflecting on the growth, trust, and love they had built together. David felt grateful for the opportunity to be the father she needed. He understood that parenting was not only about providing for physical needs, but also about being emotionally present, listening, and showing unconditional love. The small moments of attention, care, and understanding were shaping Lily's emotional world, helping her grow into a confident, resilient, and compassionate child. He knew that with patience and dedication, their bond would continue to strengthen, and Lily would face the future knowing she was loved and supported. David had watched Lily grow in so many ways over the past months. She was no longer the quiet, hesitant little girl who often seemed on the edge of hurt. She had begun to open her heart, trust more, and feel safe enough to share her thoughts and feelings. But David knew that growth was a journey, not a destination. Every day brought new challenges, and every challenge was a chance for both of them to strengthen their bond. One morning, David prepared breakfast while Lily sat at the kitchen table, her school bag resting on the chair beside her. She hummed softly, a tune she had made up herself, and David smiled at the sound. It was small, simple, and yet it carried a sense of joy he hadn't heard from her in a long time. He placed a plate in front of her and joined her, not to rush her but to share the moment. Conversation flowed naturally, and David noticed how much more confident and comfortable she seemed in expressing herself. After school, David took Lily on a small adventure to the local park. The sun was shining, and the playground was full of children laughing and playing. David held her hand and encouraged her to explore, join in the games, and meet new friends. At first she hesitated, but with gentle encouragement she ran ahead, her laughter ringing out as she played with other children. David watched her with pride, feeling the joy of seeing her step into the world with confidence. He understood that his presence and support had given her the courage to face moments that once felt overwhelming. That evening they returned home and settled into their usual routine. They worked on a small craft project together, sharing ideas and laughing at the occasional mistake. Lily spoke about her day, telling David about moments when she felt proud and moments when she had felt challenged. David listened attentively, offering encouragement and gentle guidance. He reminded her that it was okay to feel upset sometimes, and that expressing emotions honestly was a sign of strength, not weakness. One night, after dinner, Lily pulled David aside. She had written a small note, careful and neat, and handed it to him. It read, "Thank you for always listening and being here for me. I feel safe because of you." David felt a deep emotion welling up inside him. The note was simple, yet it held so much meaning. It was a reflection of the trust and love they had built together. He hugged her tightly, whispering that he would always be there, and that he was proud of the brave, kind-hearted girl she was becoming. As days passed, David noticed even more positive changes in Lily. She was more willing to speak up in class, participate in activities, and make new friends. She also began helping others, offering kindness and support to classmates who seemed lonely or unsure. David encouraged these actions, explaining how small acts of care could make a difference in the lives of others. Lily began to see herself not only as someone who received love and support, but as someone who could give it too. This awareness brought her joy and a sense of purpose. David and Lily continued their nightly routines, sharing stories, discussing their day, and sometimes just sitting together quietly, enjoying each other's presence. These moments were precious, allowing them to connect, understand one another, and grow closer. David realized that emotional presence, patience, and consistent support were the foundations of a strong, loving relationship. He felt gratitude for the opportunity to nurture his daughter's confidence and emotional well-being. One weekend, David planned a small picnic at a nearby lake. They packed sandwiches, fruit, and a blanket and set off early in the morning. The weather was perfect, and the world seemed full of possibilities. At the lake, Lily ran freely, throwing stones into the water, laughing as they skipped across the surface. David joined in, skipping stones alongside her, and they laughed together at their clumsy attempts. The day was filled with joy, connection, and a sense of freedom. Lily's laughter was pure and uninhibited, a testament to the trust and love she felt in her father's presence. After the picnic, they sat on the blanket, enjoying the view and the calm of the water. Lily leaned against David, resting her head on his shoulder. She spoke about her dreams, hopes, and fears, sharing openly in a way she had never done before. David listened, offering guidance and reassurance and simply being present. He knew that these moments of attention and care were shaping her understanding of the world and her place in it. Lily was learning that she could face challenges, express herself, and trust others without fear. As the day ended and they returned home, David reflected on the journey they had taken together. He remembered the early days when Lily had been quiet, hesitant, and often carried a weight of hurt. He thought about the mornings and evenings spent sitting together, listening, playing, and sharing stories. He realized that the simple, consistent acts of care had transformed their relationship, helping Lily grow into a confident, resilient, and compassionate child. That night, as David tucked Lily into bed, she whispered softly, "I'm still scared sometimes, but I know I'm not alone." David felt a deep sense of fulfillment and hope. He knew that life would continue to present challenges, and there would be moments of doubt and fear. But he also knew that the bond they had built, rooted in trust, love, and emotional presence, would carry them through. He kissed her forehead, held her hand, and whispered that he would always be there. David sat by her bed for a while longer, reflecting on the lessons he had learned as a parent. He realized that being a parent was not only about providing for physical needs, but about being emotionally present, listening, and nurturing a child's confidence and sense of security. The small, intentional moments of connection, the gentle guidance, and the consistent support had shaped Lily's emotional world in profound ways. In the following days, their routines continued with laughter, shared stories, and moments of quiet reflection. Lily's confidence grew steadily, and her bond with her father deepened. She learned that expressing her feelings, seeking help when needed, and showing kindness to others were all part of growing up. David understood that parenting was a continuous journey of presence, love, and guidance, and he embraced it fully, knowing that his efforts were making a lasting impact. The story of David and Lily concluded not with a single dramatic moment, but with the ongoing rhythm of life filled with connection, love, and trust. Each day was a new opportunity to be present, to listen, and to nurture a child's emotional growth. Lily's words, "I'm already hurt," had become a guiding reminder for David, shaping the way he approached parenting and reinforcing the importance of empathy, patience, and unconditional love. Together, they had built a foundation of resilience, trust, and emotional security that would support them both through all the challenges and joys of life.